Welcome back to Scarlet and Maize, the week of the game. It used to be one of the most exciting times of the year for me.
It's not anymore?
I don't know why. But before we get into that, we have to take a look at the week behind. Ohio State. They did not do well in the second half. Ohio State 56, Michigan State 7. I'll let you go first, but I did see you shared something, and I had a few people go, Michigan State kept it even in the second half, like with their starters against Ohio State's backups and third stringers. Cool.
And it was still just 7-7.
Great work. Anyways.
Okay, so MSU fans always try to push this game as the real rivalry in the Big Ten. I saw multiple tweets about this leading up to the game. Didn't see any after the game, surprisingly. The only weight that MSU has on this argument is they beat OSU more than anyone in the Big Ten since 2012. That's twice. Cool. That's since Urban Meyer was the head coach. And they're 0-6 since 2016. I don't think that makes it a rivalry.
I think it's because they want to be one of the big boys. They don't know how to be because they're not, so they try to be Michigan. And what that is Ohio State's biggest rival. Anyways.
Right. Well, and more about that, your team and MSU have actually beat Ohio State the same amount of times since 2000, which is multiple less than Purdue. So if anyone should be replacing your team as Ohio State's rival, it should be Purdue.
Yeah.
Another fun comparison between Purdue and MSU is they actually have the same amount of wins against Ohio State in the history of college football.
Interesting.
Anyway, the game, I hope Spartan fans listen to me by listening to Adele's new album because it just wasn't a game. The second week in a row now where it was halfway through the game and I thought if we wanted to, we could put 100 points up on this team.
Easily could have.
C.J. Stroud ripped every bit of hope MSU had coming to this game, Big Ten championship hopes, playoff hopes, and Kenneth Walker's Heisman hopes, all gone in
3 incompletions, 6 touchdowns.
In one half.
In one half.
Absurd.
It's terrifying.
I mean, and I don't know, like, Ohio State's defense balled out, but I might be more impressed with how good, Ohio State, did I say Ohio State's defense?
I don't know.
The Ohio State's offense balled out. But I might be more impressed with their defense because MSU has a good offense. They have one of the best offenses in the country. And they still, even with the backups and third stringers playing in the second half, the whole game gave up 7 points. And the starters gave up 0. And
well, I think part of the appeal of Michigan State's offense is you don't know if they're going to run or pass. And then once you're down 28-0 in the first quarter, you can't really run anymore.
Right.
But
yeah.
Anyways.
The last thing I had was this is the week that the SEC decided that we're just going to play FCS schools.
The Citadel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee, State, Tech, University, Southern, teams like that. Well, the weirdest part about it was they kept showing the scores of those games while I was watching the Ohio State MSU game, and I kept thinking, those scores are pretty close. Even though Ohio State was playing a top 10 team, I don't know. Ohio State looks pretty good to me right now.
Yeah.
And the SEC looks
Ohio State had 3 times the first downs. They had, I think, almost 3 times the yardage. They had like 400 more yards. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, it was just, there's not much to say
about
the game.
They both were who I thought they were, probably who we both thought they were.
They didn't. Garrett Wilson and Olave didn't both go for 200, but Garrett Wilson, Olave, and Jackson Smith and Jigba all had over 100 yards.
I thought about that as well. I'm glad we can stop talking about MSU being ranked so high while being outgained and almost losing every week. Onto the portal for MSU to try to find another diamond in the rough at running back.
Well, they better find a diamond in the rough at defensive back.
Oh, my gosh. I hope Jaden Reed goes pro. He's really good.
5-star LSU cornerback just entered the transfer portal.
I saw that.
Give him a call, Mel Tucker.
Yeah, they can switch places. Michigan 59, Maryland 18. Last week I said if we're talking about this game much, then we're in trouble. I don't have much to say.
Right.
Donovan Edwards broke out in the passing game. He broke the freshman record, I think, for receiving yards in a single game. Broke the running back record. No, just as a freshman.
Wow.
which was awesome to see. Michigan did a throwback on a kick return that made me wonder, like, why are you doing that now? But after the game, Harbaugh said that Maryland, it's a Maryland thing. They do it a few times a game. And so they're like, all right, it was a hot audible all game. If they do the short kick, we're doing this play. So then,
yeah, I was gonna say I watched that play, and I was when you had said that in the chat, why do it now instead of Ohio State against Ohio State? I was thinking it looked like it was more of a thing that Maryland was susceptible to.
I do. So that Jay Harbaugh is the special teams coach. He was written off immediately and since as a nepotism hire. But honestly, he's been a great recruiter. He's been a good coach wherever he's coached, like running backs, tight ends, special teams. I'm a big fan of Jay Harbaugh.
Yeah.
They blocked another punt. They block punts pretty regularly. Good job, Jay Harbaugh. I love you.
I'm just excited for the real game this weekend. Maryland's Maryland, and this is what I expected from a really good team, 59-18.
Yeah. Big Ten Players of the Week. Offensive is Kenneth Walker III. Wait, no, it's not. It's Peyton Thorne. No, he completed 33 or something percent of it. Oh, C.J. Stroud, 32 of 35, 432 yards, 6 touchdowns, basically in one half.
Yeah.
I'm just mad. Here's my one. I'm upset with this because I said that he could throw for 1,000 yards, and he could have, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Why'd they bench him? Come on.
I mean, I get benching him. It's late in the season. It's a long season, and you want to stay healthy. But why not let him get one more touchdown to break the record? It's like a 6-way tie right now for the most touchdown passes in a game in Ohio State history, and it's him, Fields, Haskins, Barrett, a couple other guys, I think.
I wonder how many of those were against Michigan. Anyways, Defensive Player of the Week, Isaiah Gay from Illinois. This is really weak, honestly, but it's all there is, I thought. 10 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 1 sack.
Yeah, I mean, nothing.
I looked at the other games, and there was not really anything, but that's kind of a bummer. Really, we should just give it as a team to Michigan State. Our pick standings updates. So I actually believed in Ohio State more than you, so I got the extra point.
Oh, yeah.
So I went 8-0 with the extra point. You went 7-0. Really hard week. So I'm 82-21. You're 82-22.
Wow.
So 79.61%, 78.84%. But I was thinking maybe I should get an extra point because I said Wisconsin over Nebraska by 1 score, and you said Wisconsin over Nebraska by more than 1 score. So maybe I should get 83-21. I should get an extra mark there.
I don't think so.
It's too late. Rapid fire turd pile picks. Penn State at Michigan State. For the record, Zach put this game on the turd pile, but I also can't think of a reason for it not to be.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, they're both out of the East race.
Penn State, they're 6-5. I'm pretty sure that's their record.
I'm not even sure. They have 3 conference losses, right? Maybe more. Who cares? They're out of the race.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I honestly went back and forth on this game. Penn State's defense is good. But I don't know if their passing offense will be good enough to properly expose Michigan State's defense.
Yeah.
Penn State's new backup looked good, but it was against Rutgers.
Yeah.
I got Penn State.
Look, if Jahan Dotson can go for 200 yards, I like Penn State here.
If any quarterback is going to look good, this is the team to play against.
Yeah, but I mean, I like MSU to bounce back here. I think they'll get the win at home.
Oh, boy. Separation already.
As long as James Franklin is the head coach and they're playing a ranked team, it's hard to pick Penn State.
Yep. I'm with you. Is Michigan State still going to be ranked after the I'm just joking.
They'll still be ranked.
Northwestern at Illinois. I got Illinois.
This is a fun one. I mean, I got the Wildcats here.
Do you really?
Road. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. They're going to even out. So we're tied. Indiana at Purdue. I got Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, that one's an easy one. Purdue. Indiana's terrible.
Friday, Iowa at Nebraska. We're out of the turd pile, but only technically. Iowa at Nebraska. Nebraska's favored. If Iowa wins, they win the West with a win and a Wisconsin loss.
Yeah. So this is
an
important game.
Iowa by 1 score.
Yeah, Nebraska is favored. This has got to be the first time, completely lopsided records where the team with the terrible record is favored. That's got to be one of the first times ever.
That's crazy.
Nebraska's 3-8, and I think Iowa's 7-4. The opposite, almost the opposite, and Nebraska's favored. But who did you pick?
Iowa.
I actually like Nebraska here.
Oh
they
my
They
God.
finally get it done against the ranked team.
All year long, we've been
week
dead
12.
even.
Yeah, I like Nebraska here.
Last week we had literally all the same picks.
Yeah.
This week, none of the same, pretty much.
Well, we had one the same.
Yeah. Maryland at Rutgers, bowl eligibility on the line. 5-6, 5-6. I got Maryland.
I love
You like
Shiano.
Shiano.
At home. I got the Scarlet Knights.
Let's go. This is fun. Wisconsin at Minnesota. So, if Wisconsin wins, they win the West.
Yes.
If they lose, it's potentially chaos. It depends on Iowa and Nebraska.
If they lose to Minnesota and Iowa loses to Nebraska, and we're assuming Purdue's going to beat Indiana because they really should, it'll be a 4-way tie for the West, sending Minnesota to the conference championship.
If that happens, and if Michigan beats Ohio State to go to the Big Ten, I'm getting a PJ Fleck row the boat tattoo. Game of the year. Not just game of the week.
Yep.
Game of the year. Ohio State at Michigan. Harbaugh called it a playoff game today.
Yeah, I mean it's a playoff play-in game.
Yeah.
It's the real Big Ten championship game in my mind. I mean, he's not wrong. I actually think this is Ohio State's toughest game of the all year. I know a couple weeks ago I said Purdue was the team I was
Even
most worried
Oregon?
about. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they lost.
Okay.
So you think Michigan's going to win?
No.
I just got you all flustered. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's the toughest game of the year because Michigan's better than Oregon was at the time. Michigan's better than Oregon is now.
Yeah.
But Ohio State's also a lot better than they were at the time. But, yeah, that being said, the more I look at the numbers, I think Michigan's a tougher opponent than Purdue. Ohio State's run defense is one of the best in the country, but they often get a big lead, and the teams have to rely on the pass. And Ohio State's run defense is still very good against runs per carry, but they haven't really been worn down by teams where they just keep running it and keep running it and keep running it because they don't stay in the game enough to do that. Mm-hmm. I think if Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo can get after Stroud, it'll be a good game. But I still like the Buckeyes. Ryan Day is great at exploiting weaknesses, and all eyes will be on Ohio State's pass game and how to stop it. But I think Michigan's run defense is suspect, and Ryan Day will find a way to exploit it. And I think Travion Henderson will go for 200 yards, and Ohio State will win by 14.
14. All right. In Cade McNamara's first real game time, he came in last year for Joe Milton against Rutgers, down 17. He threw 4 touchdowns to lead them to a win. After the game, there's a video of Cade's speech to the team, and he says, among some other stuff, "What happens if we win out, huh?" After Michigan got another ref job in the Michigan State game this year, the way Michigan has responded since, what happens if we win out, huh? Mm-hmm. Fielding Yost said, "True loyalty is that quality of service that grows under adversity and expands in defeat. Any street urchin can shout applause in victory, but it takes character to stand fast in defeat. One is noise, the other loyalty."
Wow.
Urban Meyer has a quote too. It's just not suitable for YouTube, and I don't want this episode taken down. He's a pervert. It's not about Michigan, but let's move on because he left Ohio unceremoniously. Jim Harbaugh actually has a quote about Urban Meyer. He said, "Urban Meyer's had a winning record, really phenomenal everywhere he's been, but also controversy follows everywhere he's been." Let's move on from Urban to the game at hand.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm conflicted. So what Ohio State did to Michigan State made me say, Ohio State wouldn't pull Stroud in the second half against Michigan. But also, Don Brown is gone. Michigan's defense isn't as hilariously awful as Michigan State's. I think Michigan's best option is probably to take a lot of clock when they're on offense, but be multiple in their attack. I'm not saying just try to army it 3-yard gain, 3-yard gain, 3-yard gain, 3-yard gain, but take time in between each play. As few possessions as possible, but more importantly, Michigan can't settle for field goals. They need to be aggressive on 4th down, especially if the defense can't get stops or is struggling to stop Ohio State's 8 NFL receivers. Yost makes me want to have enthusiasm heading into the game. I really like I've been calling it the inevitable parasitic hope, but I actually want to have hope now. I really do. It feels less inevitable and parasitic right now. It really almost feels like my hope for Michigan has been dead since the game in 2018, but I swear I just saw it move. I'm like, there's no hope, and then I'm like, wait a minute, did he just take a breath? Wait a minute, did he just turn his head? I want so badly for it to be alive, but 2018 actually traumatized me with the game. It's the first time in so long I was confident heading in. It was terrible. This is the third time in 7 years that the season has come down to the game, and it's how it should be. I think next year is going to be the same thing, but we're not talking about next year, Zach. Big 2, Little 12, no one cares about Michigan State beating Michigan outside of East Lansing. Go crying to a pillow about all the disrespect Michigan State is getting, if you do care. Part of me wants to buy all the way into what Kate has been saying all year, that this team is different. Part of me wants to try to protect my slim picks lead, my slim lead in our percentages.
Hey, we might not have to worry about it with how many differences we have.
I know. But what happens if we win out, huh? Michigan by 7. Go Blue!
Wow.
Go Blue!
I love it. Okay, so I have a question for you that's off topic. We've discussed this before. It's not in our notes. It's not on the. I've told you I'm a little bit jealous at times thinking about the fact that it's we beat Michigan again, cool. But for you guys, someday it's going to happen. It might be Saturday. It might be 20 years from now. Michigan's going to beat Ohio State again. It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like that moment is going to be so meaningful and cool. So we did it. We finally did it. How do you feel about that?
I would gladly trade places with you. That's all I would say. No, it hopefully will be good. Honestly, whatever. It'll be really nice. Hopefully I'm alive for it. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
Hopefully
honestly,
it's this Saturday. It's more of this huge relief, and not we climbed this mountain. We achieved something huge. It's like, we beat this team that's been beating the crap out of us for 20 years.
What are you saying? It doesn't feel good to let out a big old turd?
I'll let you know next week.
I will say, okay, that was a little bit of an exaggeration by me saying, we beat Michigan again. I love it when we beat Michigan, and I get excited every year for it.
Which is what makes this the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's
been since 2011, and I still every year get so excited for the game. And I mean, honestly, most years I'm like, could this be the year that Michigan does it?
Usually not.
The only time I was not a chance was the year that you had your most hope for some reason, was 2018.
Yeah, revenge tour.
Yeah, revenge tour. I was like, not a chance.
Yeah. Things nobody is talking about. I'll go first. Honestly, seriously, no one is talking about the good of Jim Harbaugh. Even yesterday, I was talking to a friend that's a State fan, and I said, as Marquette basketball got destroyed, now Marquette fans can stop pretending Shaka Smart is a good coach. And he responded with, imagine thinking Harbaugh is a good coach. So, let me remind you what he took over. Brady Hoke was 12-13 his last 2 years, each of his last 3 years having a worse record than the year before. Rich Rod was 15-22. Harbaugh took over and has won 72% of his games. This is admittedly an indictment on Michigan football, but Hoke obviously went into the game with 1 or fewer losses. The game against Ohio State, 0 times. Rich Rod, 0 times. Lloyd Carr, here we go. 3 times in 13 years did Lloyd Carr go into the game against Ohio State with 1 or fewer losses. Gary Moeller, 2 times in 5 years. And then Bo Schembechler, 12 times in 21 years. Are you ready for this? This is the 3rd time in the last 5 full seasons that the division is coming down to the game under Jim Harbaugh. It is the 3rd time that they'll have 1 or fewer loss. I mean, they'll have 1 loss each time, but 1 or fewer loss heading into the game. And I mentioned it before, but if the trouble with the snap fluke 1 in a million play doesn't happen, it's 4 out of the last 6. He obviously hasn't gotten it done because 2016. That was a little asterisk there. 2016. 2017, they almost beat Ohio State. They got the ball with time left, down 1 score. When we were talking about it right beforehand, I was glad it wasn't an actual drive because I go, okay, Michigan has a shot. John O'Korn at quarterback, and like the first throw was a pick. And I was like, yeah, it's over. Okay, let's move on.
My favorite part about that game was when, was it JT Barrett at the time? Got hurt. Yeah, it was JT Barrett got hurt, and Dwayne Haskins came in and threw a dot on 3rd down for first
Was
down.
it that game or was it the year after? I don't remember. I just remember Devin Gardner going out onto the field. So I think it was before when Barrett, I don't know, whatever. Barrett probably got hurt a bunch of times.
He did, actually.
Yeah. Things no one is talking about?
Alabama will beat Georgia in the SEC championship game because they both suck. I mean, I feel like everybody keeps saying Georgia's winning that, but no. Alabama's going to win that game because all Georgia's got is defense.
Alabama has looked less impressive than Georgia to me. But.
Yeah, they have looked less impressive because they suck.
Yeah.
And Georgia's looked impressive because the SEC sucks and nobody can score on them.
I will say, I don't remember how many weeks ago it was that you said Ohio State, Georgia in the championship game, and this week we get to find out you're wrong. Viewer questions, realistically, does Michigan have a shot against Ohio State? And what's Adam's fear level for Saturday? And what does Michigan need to do to win? I'll let you answer what you got first.
Okay. So what I got first is your fear level. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything about your fear level. So that team up north is a very good team. Do they have a shot against OSU? I mean, technically everyone has a shot against OSU, but until they show me they
not
can,
Michigan State.
I mean, they technically had a shot.
I don't know
until they show me they can do it, I won't believe it. It's dumb as it sounds. It's been 10 years. They don't have a shot until they do it. What does Michigan need to do to win? They need to have the run game going and the pass rushing. Which, I mean, they're very good at both those things, but Ohio State's very good at the opposite of those things.
Yeah. I don't know that fear is the right word for it because I know what to expect. So, like, fear is a word I'd use for lesser games that I expect Michigan to win to describe chances of an upset.
Like Appalachian State.
Yeah, I didn't have a high fear level. I should have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly optimistic because 2018 really did crush my soul, and I have bad feelings about 2016 because it kind of solidified for me that if Michigan and Ohio State are in a close game, Michigan can get blatantly and obviously shafted on national TV with no repercussions. Maybe we should have an episode.
So either way, they're getting shafted.
Yeah. Maybe we should have an episode talking about that game and how that one game fuels my hatred towards officiating in all sports more than the rest of my entire life as a fan of sports. Seriously, Tim Donaghy level nonsense went on in that game, except even more plain and evident, and nothing happened as a result. It is what it is, but I think to immediately write it off as whining while refusing to look at the specifics surrounding that game is dishonest and Sparty-like, we could say. Michigan needs to get touchdowns, lots of touchdowns. They need to get pressure on C.J. Stroud. Can they? This is what sucks. It honestly comes down to officiating because Michigan literally has the best pass rushing duo in the country and is averaging something like one holding call per game. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. Every single game, I'm watching Hutchinson and Ojabo get tackled to the ground in front of the quarterback, in front of an official, and no flag come out. They cannot get a flag. Seriously, if I'm Ohio State, I'm telling the offensive line to hold any single time they feel like it might be beneficial. So if you're blocking your guy and you've got him, great. If you start to see him, tackle him, hold him, because a flag is not coming if this game is officiated, the rest of the season is officiated. You can say, but they could call holding on every play of every game. But A, that's not true. And B, until you watch Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo play every week and see what happens to them right in front of the officials every week, I don't want to hear it. Michigan's biggest key on defense is pressure on Stroud, and it's unfortunately dependent on flags coming out. As an aside, if we're not going to call holding when we see holding, at least put it in the rules. Like we could say, we're going to throw a flag each hold, but only give yardage 1 out of every 3 or something. They don't want to slow it down. We can throw holding every play. I don't buy it, but whatever. The flags come out to show when we see it, and then the yards are assessed every third of the time. or, just enforce the rules and make the teams adjust. It's ridiculous how many times holding has been happening and how few times holding has been called. That's what Michigan needs to do to win the game, is pay the frickin' refs to do their jobs. Is Mel Tucker still worth $95 million, or was it too soon? Isn't he a defensive specialist? I'll go first.
Here we go.
My initial reaction to Mel Tucker getting $95 million over 10 years was thinking about all the times I was told by State fans that Harbaugh was overpaid at $5 million a year because he hasn't won anything. Okay? Those folks seem awfully excited about paying a guy with one winning season nearly double that, but cool, I guess. I've actually had some calm conversations with a few Sparties about it, and they made an honest good point. Zach, has Mel Tucker earned $9.5 million a year for 10 years yet? Obviously no, but Michigan State feels like he could end up worth it, and they're willing to take their shot to keep him from going to a bigger school.
Yeah.
I appreciate that honesty. It's a roll of the dice, but they like what they've gotten from him so far. So the options are, really, they can hope he can keep it going, or they can try to find another third option on their coaching list hires that got outgained nearly every single week on the way to a miraculous and asterisk 9-2 record. It's a gamble, but they think it's a gamble worth taking. It's not my money, so I don't care. Let's see if he can strike gold in the portal again. Like I've said, I don't know for sure that they needed to make him the second highest paid coach in all of football, but cool, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see if he ends up closer to Nick Saban or Charlie Weiss. Let's go. To answer the second question, isn't he a defensive specialist? So Mel Tucker is a DB. He played defensive back. He's been a defensive backs coach and or defensive coordinator at every single coaching stop he's ever had. It's not surprising to me that they struggled on defense this year. It is surprising that they literally have the worst passing defense in the country. I read that MSU basically tried the Don Brown defense on Saturday against Ohio State, which, if true, they should be asking whoever's decision that was to take an IQ test and resign, because that's absurd. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I say a lot of similar things. I think a big factor was MSU feels like he's their guy for their future. The contract wasn't about one game. It wasn't about beating Michigan. It was about what he can do in the future and what they believe he can do in the future. And I think an even bigger factor was LSU, Florida, and USC are all looking for new head coaches this offseason. And there was rumors about his name has been thrown around for all three of them, and especially LSU. And do I think he's overpaid? Yes. Do I think he would have been overpaid by one of those schools as well if they didn't pay him? Yes.
Yeah. Last viewer question. What would you say, this is from Zach, what would you say if I told you in September that as of November 21st, Michigan's football team would have fewer losses than the basketball team? So, I picked Michigan football to go 9-3, but I also predicted Michigan basketball to struggle early on as they got their footing and got used to their personnel. I also said Michigan could lose to Seton Hall, and then we didn't talk about the Arizona game. But I told my wife beforehand, don't be surprised if Michigan loses this game. The biggest red flag, long-term, for the basketball team right now is that Caleb Houston is shooting like Adrian Nunez.
Yeah.
If you don't watch basketball, it's not good. Eli Brooks has been the only good shooter. Devontae Jones has been okay. It's honestly been close to the worst-case scenario that I just laid out. I think on the last basketball episode or the one before, and I hope they get it together. But, yeah, tweet of the week. I got two. First by Alejandro Zuniga. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. You're not watching. Touchdown scored by backup quarterbacks on Saturday. Ohio State 0, Michigan 1. Go Blue. I'll let you go, and then I'll do my second one.
Okay, so my tweet of the week it's a quoted tweet from 2015. So there was an article that was put out that Cardale Jones, who was the quarterback for Ohio State at the time, visits a kid in the hospital to play video games, beats him 91 to 35. Wow, I mixed that up real quick.
That's all right.
Beats them 91 to 35 in NCAA football. And then Cardinal Jones tweeted the article and said, "Man, I wish everyone stopped saying I beat a kid in the hospital 91-35. It was 98-35. Had 91 with a minute 26 left in the fourth." And then during the Ohio State MSU game, Stuart Feener, I don't know if I'm saying his name right either, tweeted Ohio State right now. I just think it's hilarious. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is Ohio State Saturday either, just solely because a year and a half ago, Jim Harbaugh called out Ryan Day on a Big Ten call, and then
for cheating. Yep.
For accused of cheating. And Ryan Day, in reference to this, told his players that got leaked that he better watch his mouth or we'll hang 100 on him. That's not the quote exactly, but basically
he cleaned it up a bit.
You better watch his mouth or we'll hang 100 on him.
Yeah, which is great because a reporter called out Harbaugh for the same thing this year, and Harbaugh said, "I wasn't aware that we need to shut it down," basically. So Ryan Day's response is, "We're going to score 100 next time."
Yeah.
That just shows the mentality of the two programs and why we are where we are, I think. My second one, Michigan running back Blake Corum used his NIL money to purchase turkeys distributed in 2 Ypsilanti counties in what he calls giving back to give thanks. Well done all around, Blake Corum.
That's cool. I saw a tweet similar to that of Ohio State players doing that too.
I doubt it. And all the fear-mongering about the evils that the NIL would bring, this was a potential outcome
It wasn't.
not talked about.
I don't think it was NIL though, but they were like feeding the homeless or something.
The money they were getting from Ohio State to go there, yeah. Also, how do people pretend like there weren't and aren't still prominent schools that give their players money under the table? College football isn't pure, hasn't been for a long time. It's funny that we want to pretend that it is.
Yeah.
Players should get money. My only problem with certain schools paying top players to go there is that I don't think Michigan does it. I think they should. But
never mind. Yeah.
with that, we'll see you next week. Well, either Zach will see you next week if Ohio State wins, or we will see you next week, and I'll be all smiles if Michigan finally pulls it off. Buy your cider at Quality Dairy.
We'll be jamming out to Mr. Brightside either way. So.
Either way, we will. That's all the time we got. Follow, subscribe, share, all that. We'll see you next time. Go Blue.
Go Buckeyes.